Nerdrotic.com.
You know things are getting bad at Disney Star Wars when the Fandom Menace is not only acknowledged, it's named by Jar Jar Abrams himself. Oh my God, what a day. I got a call from Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers and I could not believe it. We have a lot of Star Wars and a lot of Jar Jar to talk about, but we are not going to bury the lead. This is big, folks. But before I get started, if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content, please consider subscribing to the channel and making sure you're still subscribed. I'm still getting emails from people telling me they have been unsubscribed by YouTube. So if you can check, I would appreciate it if you could like and share the videos. I know this is a lot of work, but this is the only way yours truly and your favorite independent creator YouTuber can stay competitive against the giant corporations like Disney that YouTube has decided to prioritize. There were a lot of reports from yours truly and Doomcock and Midnight's Edge that there had been reshoots on the Rise of Skywalker, and there were people saying that these weren't happening or they were just pickups. But it turns out they happened. And there was also leaks. My good friend Doomcock reported on a lot of rumors that he had heard, and remember, they were rumors, and people were saying that they were just categorically false, and there was no way these rumors could have gotten out there. Well, guess what? There was a script that ended up on eBay, and I don't think it's a stretch that this information could have been put on Reddit or emailed to a certain YouTuber prior to its sale back to Disney. Disney and Lucasfilm go to great lengths to keep anticipated movies shrouded in secrecy, except for the last two where spoilers ended up on Reddit. But director Jar Jar Abrams revealed to Good Morning America on ABC, which is owned by Disney, Monday that a real script ended up on eBay. Now, the question has to be asked, why would Jar Jar Abrams even admit this in public unless he was possibly covering his ass? One of our actors, I won't say which one, I want to, but I won't, Mark Hamill, in my opinion, left it under his bed and it was found by someone who was cleaning their place, Abrams said. It was then given to someone else who went to sell it on eBay. A Disney employee spotted the for sale item before anyone could get their hands on it and got it back before it was sold. But maybe not before it was scanned and put on the internet. Abrams explained, with all the security, you have to be careful. But I love how they put this in here, just nonchalantly. Abrams also shared that The Rise of Skywalker went through routine reshoots and wasn't completed until Sunday. It wasn't completed until last Sunday. Kathleen Kennedy has been caught lying twice. Jar Jar Abrams has been caught lying again and is trying to cover himself. So it turns out there was reshoots, and I'm sure they were just routine, but it also turns out there was a lot of last-minute monkeying around on this film, meaning there could have been multiple endings, but I guess we'll never know unless another fired director pipes up. But let's get to the big news, because that's not it. It must be hard being a shill, busting your ass, being a fan, buying all that chapstick, and then getting nothing. And then Jar Jar Abrams comes out and acknowledges your enemy. It must be a very frustrating day, but it's a great day over here. We have leaks, we have reshoots, we have vindication, and we have acknowledgement. Again, we're going to start out with Ichibaka's Disney Star Wars is dumb, and this is the reason I call it Disney Star Wars. Please give Ichi a follow on Twitter. Our old friend Disney shill Matt Miller, who attacked Doomcock from Esquire, sat down with Jar Jar Abrams for a lightly edited chat. Since only a tiny vocal minority is interested in Jar Jar's thoughts on Star Wars, I saw what you did there, Itchy, we'll focus our attention on Jar Jar's comments about the Fandom Menace. Esquire, over the last couple of years since The Last Jedi came out, I've been writing a lot about the response to that movie and some of the toxic fandom around Star Wars in this new era. And there are some fans who take issue with the filmmaking, other fans who take issue with some of the more progressive themes. I'm curious, how do you watch the response to Star Wars movies change in this modern era compared to maybe the prequel series or how fans originally responded to them? Not like Jar Jar's complimentary, but this still must frustrate people like Matt Miller and the Access media. They work so hard to get jobs that are just insignificant now, and losing traction to YouTubers must be frustrating. Jar Jar Abrams. I think the bigger question is, how has everything changed? The reaction to Star Wars, the increased attacks, the increased negativity, the Fandom Menace, as they call it, you know? The power of fandom, the power of speaking up. I will say it right now. I don't think you would have gotten The Mandalorian and the way we are getting it if it wasn't for the Fandom Menace. And I don't think we'd be getting the changes that I think are coming to Disney Star Wars with Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni without the Fandom Menace. I'm not going to say they're wholly responsible, but if we hadn't said anything, we probably would have gotten more solo films directed by Ron Howard and more films directed by Rian Johnson, which I don't think is going to happen at all. I'll backtrack a little bit. The Fandom Menace, as they call it, that is not unique to Star Wars. No, it isn't Doctor Who and Star Trek and Marvel Comics, obviously. And I think we live in a time where if you're not being divisive, if you're not creating something that's adverse clickbait, sometimes you don't quite feel like you're playing the game. And that is Jar Jar Abrams showing his true colors, which he rarely does. I always love Star Wars because it's got a huge heart. It had a huge heart until you ripped it out. Did I always believe in and agree with every single thing that happened in every movie, whether it was the prequels or the original trilogy? No. But do I love Star Wars? Yes. So, for me, I hope, and I'm sure naively, we can return to a time where we give things a bit more latitude. Oh, that is rich. Coming from the king repurposer in Hollywood, somebody who was almost solely responsible for most of the divisiveness we've had in some of our favorite franchises and some of our favorite TV shows. I don't know how anyone who has a spouse or a partner or a family member or a friend who loves and agrees with every single thing that this person is and does. We have to return, I think, to nuance and acceptance. And so I feel like, as a Star Wars fan, do I love every single thing about each of the movies? No. But do I love Star Wars? Hell yes, I do. JJ, you're full of crap. This isn't about making a few minor changes to a character that some people might not agree with. This is about taking Han Solo, the most popular character in Star Wars, and making him a bad father. He abandoned Leia. He abandoned his son. He went back to the smuggler's life in his 70s. He sold Luke's medal for drinking money, which I'm sure was inspired by your lead. And the only reason you did that was because of the Me Too Time's Up era in Hollywood, the anti-patriarchy Hollywood. And if you tell me that creative decision was made for other reasons than that, I will call you a liar, which you've proven yourself to be quite a few times publicly. But I love Itchy's response here. JJ, we're not married to you or your crappy ideas. We don't like the direction you've taken Star Wars in general. We don't like that you carelessly discarded George Lucas's treatments for the Disney Trilogy. That's not going to change, nor is our rejection of your Disney Trilogy. It's not going to change until your Disney Trilogy is wiped from canon, rebooted, or written over. Accept it. The Mandalorian has been in production for a while, and you know what? I haven't heard a single thing from any of my insiders or any other YouTubers. Problems on the set, rewrites, reshoots. I'm sure there was some routine reshoots, but I don't think there was any problems. How come there's always problems with something that's involving bad reboot or somebody who's formerly worked for bad reboot? We've had multiple problems with Star Trek Discovery, multiple firings of showrunners, and we've had multiple firings of directors. And while Jar Jar Abrams is not in charge of Star Wars, well, publicly anyway, I'm guessing he had some say behind the scenes. And maybe he's just one of those people who's always whispering in the boss's ear. I'm just saying it's a possibility. So, Jar Jar Abrams is a liar. He lied about Star Trek Into Darkness. He lied about not suing fan films. Yes, he was behind CBS suing Star Trek fans who wanted to make Star Trek fan films, based on what I've heard with the help of his two lackeys, Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman. And this is the guy talking about divisiveness, when he is the one who helped create it into fandoms. As some of you may know, the original director and writer for episode 9 was Colin Trevorrow, and he stated in an interview with Empire magazine that Palpatine was not part of his story, and it was not part of the plan from the beginning. It's something Jar Jar Abrams came up with when he decided to take over The Rise of Skywalker, at the time episode 9. But now, Jar Jar came out with an interview with Uproxx. Now, I don't know when this interview was conducted, but the article came out the 25th, and he is claiming, in a way, that Palpatine was always part of the story. But listen how he answers the question. When did you decide to bring Palpatine back? Was this discussed during The Force Awakens, or was this more because Snoke is gone? Well, when you look at this 9 chapters of a story, perhaps the weirder thing would be if Palpatine didn't return. You're not answering the question, Jar Jar. You just look at what he talks about, who he is, how important he is, what the story is. Strangely, his absence entirely from the Disney Trilogy would be conspicuous. No, it wouldn't, because he died. It would be very weird. Again, no, it wouldn't, because he's dead. That's not to say there was a Bible and we knew what happens at every step. But when Larry Kasdan and I worked on The Force Awakens, we didn't do it in a vacuum. We very purposely looked at what came before. We chose to tell a story that was exactly like what came before. I'm sorry, that was me. That touches upon specific things and themes. You mean like copying A New Hope. And ideas we've seen before to begin a new story. But we examine all that came before to ask, where does this feel like it's going? And you probably asked yourself that even when you were finished with the film, because that's what most of the audience was asking, or at least the ones with brains. So there were discussions about that at the time. Yet, like any beginning, you want to put in the threads, but you don't want to necessarily be literal about everything. It is very difficult not to cringe through this guy's complete bullshit, but let's continue. And then when Rhiannon was brought on to do The Last Jedi, we met and we talked about things, and he wrote his story. And when I read the script, come on, I realized this didn't get in the way of anything Larry and I talked about that I thought I'd get to. But you didn't know you were going to be on the 3rd film, so you are full of crap. But the reason they're writing this article is the same reason they do this in politics. It is now out there. Most people are just going to read the headline and go, see, it was part of the plan all along. But if you actually read this answer, it doesn't answer anything. There were some very specific things we did get to in this movie when we were laughing and going, oh my God, we're finally going to do the thing we talked about 5 years ago. Except Larry Kasdan isn't working on this film, so I don't know who you're talking about. You might have bandied about the idea of having Palpatine in, but you weren't going to write the 3rd movie, so he wasn't part of the plan all along. In other words, Rhiannon didn't know that Palpatine was coming back, and Colin Trevorrow didn't know. Now, somebody is lying. It's either Colin Trevorrow, Jar Jar Abrams, or Kathleen Kennedy. And considering the latter have been caught recently in lies, I'm guessing they are the liar pantses in this story. But I want to double back to when Jar Jar Abrams was throwing a little shade on the Fandom Menace, and I said he showed his true colors. The Fandom Menace, as they call it, that is not unique to Star Wars, obviously. And I think we live in a time where if you're not being divisive, and if you're not creating something that's adverse clickbait, maybe that's clickbait or quickbait, not sure, sometimes you don't feel like you're playing the game. Sometimes you just don't feel relevant enough, and that's all this dude is about, power and relevance. He is not about creativity. He doesn't care about Star Wars. He doesn't care about Star Trek or any other thing he is. He just wants to own Hollywood, which he practically does right now. In DC, he is coming for you. Jar Jar Abrams knows exactly what he is and what he isn't. He is not an innovator, but he is an imitator. He is not a creative, but he is a repurposer. And I'm guessing he's okay with that because he's got $500 million in the bank. And if he screws up Star Wars, it doesn't matter because he's off to go screw up a 3rd major franchise. Now, when it comes to the Fandom Menace getting named out loud by Jar Jar Abrams, that is a huge deal. And it's been a crazy couple of years. I found the Fandom Menace through Jeff Hicks and the World Class Bullshitters, and of course then there was EBS, then there was Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers and That Star Wars Girl, and all the other OG members. It's grown into something pretty wonderful actually, and a lot of fun. So what happens beyond The Rise of Skywalker? Well, there's still a lot of work to do. Doctor Who premieres on the 1st of the year, and then Picard is 3 weeks later. So the work is not done, and as far as Star Wars is concerned, I think maybe The Mandalorian is Disney Star Wars trying to turn the page, trying to be different, trying to maybe decrease the identity politics that so many have a problem with, that Jar Jar Abrams is solely responsible with Kathleen Kennedy for putting into Star Wars. Maybe there's better days ahead, but I'm not a Star Wars fan anymore, and this video is exactly why, and I'm with Itchy. That's not going to change, nor is our rejection of your Disney Trilogy. It's not going to change until your sequel trilogy is wiped from canon, rebooted, or written over. The Fandom Menace was already immortalized in pop culture, but now it has been validated by Jar Jar Abrams himself, and unfortunately, love it or hate it, we aren't going anywhere, and we remain a hashtag, a loose collection of individuals united in the principle of respecting the fan, respecting the customer, and protecting our modern mythology. And we're clearly inside of some of the big heads at Disney Star Wars, and ultimately, while we didn't get Han or Luke back, this is the Fandom Menace victorious. I'm not going to say mission accomplished because we have a lot of work to do, but the work we've done so far, well done. Hail Ichibaka, hail the Fandom Menace, everybody have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.